Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions for the first time in 86 years.
Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is banner 18.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome into episode 49 of a New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy Online, and I am joined here by my dad and co-host, the OG Frid. Dad, would you like to say hello to the listeners this morning?
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, newbies. Good morning, Hanson, or Fryddy, as you like to be known online. Exciting upcoming week of sports going on here, especially with this college football playoff beginning in about 2 weeks. Excited to see that. Exciting to see. I know we're going to jump right into this. What's going on with Juan Soto?
Well, the Juan Soto Sweepstakes is finally over, as it came out last night at like 11 p.m. that he signed a 15-year, 765 with the Mets. I got mixed feelings about it. You know, on one end, I'm sitting there like, damn, it wasn't us. But at another end of it, I'm like, God, did we dodge a bullet there? 765 over 15 years is a lot. A lot of money. If you would have asked me, last week, and I think we did, we were talking about, 600, 650, yeah, that's probably fine. Then all these teams started to make a push, and then it was like, all right, well, the expectation is 7. Oh, well, you might have to do 750, 765 to get them. Once we were creeping there towards 8 at some point, and I don't know if I was going to, regardless if he said, yeah, I'll come there, if you give me the 800 or something, or whatever it was going to be, 770 to get this done, I definitely walk it back a little, because holy shit, that is a lot of money.
That is.
It's a lot of money, but it's fine. It was nice that we had this to look forward to, I guess, for the last couple of weeks. And it's nice to know that whether it be because of the ties, whether it be because of the makeup of the team right now, whether it be because of the fact that we have money to spend, Boston was a real they were a real player in this. They were a real threat to get Juan Soto. I was looking all last night, and I'll continue to look this week, but I would love to know the final numbers on what we offered. If it was 750, 730, somewhere around there. I think I saw, actually, it was on my phone, I think, when I woke up here. Here. Came out at 12:02 that the Yankees offered 16 years for 760. Mets, like I said, 15 for 765. I'd imagine we were somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know if we were going to extend to 16 or if we were going to get above 750. I would think we're probably slotted in there somewhere at 15 for 730. And I feel like that's probably as high as
700, but not to the 750 mark. I don't think so. Again, great that this ownership group took the efforts, was showing that they would pursue and pay for a talent, but there is, a limit. As we said last week, I mean, if you're sitting here having a guy 15, now, yes, a lot of it's, deferred and all that, but, you're 37 years old paying someone, could be 32, 40, on your roster. Now, I know we don't have salary caps, but I mean, wouldn't that be fun if all of a sudden baseball, which they could do in the next, 10 years or something.
By the time the contract's done.
Yeah. Sitting there going, hey, this is getting ridiculous. Some of these teams can't afford. Let's even it out here. And all of a sudden you have a salary cap and your one player is 3/4 of your cap.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. So, there's good on both sides of this. And so I'm not like, down in the dumps about not landing Soto, especially because it comes out that, and I think we had been talking about it about 2 weeks ago, some other guys we may be interested in if Soto didn't fall in our favor, one of which being Teoscar Hernandez from the Dodgers, who I'm hearing more rumblings of him now as the guy that we wanted to go over as a big bat if we didn't land Soto. And it
we
says
had
here
interested
that
in him last year too.
Yeah, I believe like around the trade deadline and stuff too.
Yeah.
It says that he would prefer to stick with the Dodgers, but has been long intrigued by playing in Fenway Park. That's something that we can bring that a lot of other teams, outside of maybe the Cubs with Wrigley, can bring that iconic of a field to the table there. Be like, hey, if you grew up watching Fenway, like you can come and play there too. But yeah, we do intend to pursue him based off some reports. If they lose out on the Soto bidding, now that we are almost 8 hours past that, I imagine that's going to be on their radar first thing this morning. Another one they've been looking around at, Anthony Santander from the O's. I would prefer Teoscar. But, if we need a bat, we can't get Teoscar. He stays with the Dodgers. Be okay with that. Speaking of bats, we're not going to be getting Tyler O'Neill back. I don't know if you saw that this weekend, but signed a 3-year, about $49 million deal with the O's to stay in the division. That's a bit sucky, I will say.
Yeah.
I don't think they would. I wasn't expecting them to go after him at all, honestly. No. But I think he's going to fill in pretty well there. But I think we knew this. I think it was like, yeah, we'll re-sign him if we need to. But I don't think either of us really envision Tyler coming back to a Red Sox uniform next year, right?
I mean, I would have liked to see him. But yet, I mean, defensively, he played well. He just seemed to be injured when we didn't need him to. And the bat, as much as we need that right-handed slot, and he had some power, his swing just is so long. He struck out, I think, way too much in the wrong times, especially.
Yeah, he was like a little Aaron Judge light at some points. Sorry, can't get through an episode without getting a shout out at the Yankees. But I was actually just wondering about the last Soto offer. Sean McAdam reported at around 10:30 last night. Our last and best offer was 15 for $700. So I'm fine with that. I think that's a good absolute max. If you can't get him for 15 years for $700 million, you're not kicking yourself. Yes, it's only an extra $65 million, but only an extra $65 million is a lot to say. But hey, at least it's not back to the Yankees. I know we talked about this. I talked about this about last week or 2 weeks ago, where I was like, if you're going to stay in New York, you're not going to play for the Mets. You're going to play for the Yankees. Looks like the Mets really made a good push for it there at the end. And while it doesn't help us and we don't sign him, it definitely hurts the Yankees and breaks them down a peg. You get him out of the division, and suddenly that gap between the Sox and the Yankees going into next year is not as evident as it was these last 2 years. So that is something that's encouraging out of this. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I have too much more on it. He's probably going to be same type of player that he is was in New York and will be again in New York, but just on the other side. And I think at the same time too, like we've been talking about, this is going to be a domino effect free agency, and this might be a good thing now. We can get our eyes off Soto. We can go and try to prioritize other bats if we were going to. But also, I think this is now the perfect opportunity when everybody's still scrambling, trying to figure out what to do post Soto. This is when you make your big push for those arms. This is when you make your big push for Max Fried. This is where you make your big push for Corbin Burns. You see if you can get them both because of the fact that, a bat like Teoscar is not going to cost what it would if we signed one. When do you see potentially one of those big arms going down now that we have the first domino? I know we talked about this through our text last week. We did sign Chapman to, I think it was a 1-year deal on like Wednesday or something, which mixed feelings by Red Sox fans, I will tell you. And me too. But here's the thing. Yes, we all know Adrales Chapman's a piece of shit person because of his past and everything. However, we needed help in the bullpen, guys. And yes, Chapman is not the Chapman he was 3 years ago, but he can still throw some heat. He might not be the closer.
Right. I don't think he'll be the closer.
He might be a great setup guy. He, if forced into situations to close games, he might be able to. I'm not saying like I said here, he's not the guy from 3 years ago. But he's also not just a useless bench arm, I would say. If we get him at his best this year, he'll be a very good option in a bullpen that lost us some games last year. And hopefully it's not the only bullpen addition we make. Hopefully we see, a couple more. The biggest one being Devin Williams, I think, out of Milwaukee, that all-star closer. I would love to throw him in the bullpen as well. I haven't heard anything about him so far, where he may go or the potential suitors. So it was a hole that needed to be filled. So I get the mixed feelings and everything about him and all, but if we're talking about roster construction and adjusting the parts of the team that we need to in order to take that next step and make the playoffs and not, fall out of the race right at the end by game 150, 155 like we were doing this year. Looking at it in that way, I'm not too disappointed with this signing. What about you?
No, I mean, yeah, you are right. He's not that, flamethrower that he was when he came out. I think though, use him correctly, relief guy, or setup guy, and could be an eventual closer. I know that I think some of the teams that he's played on, especially Pittsburgh recently, he hasn't been that closer, that light out guy that he was earlier in his career. But I think because of the young bats that we have, the young players in this organization, I think that definitely our target has to be the pitching staff. With Juan Soto in it clogs up that outfield, that opportunity for Roman Anthony to get some major league at bats, show what he can do. At least hopefully the kid is the height that we're putting him at, and he can play well. By him, at least that's a good plan B, keeping our outfield where it is. And it definitely hurts. I mean, now, that's a hole on the right field that the Yankees have to do something. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they have to do.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, like a lot of their, I mean, don't get me wrong, like the team itself, I mean, as much as I love to shit on the Yankees, this was a team that made the World Series, won the AL, but a lot of that came from the threat of Soto and Judge back to back in that lineup. You know, you can't walk one because then you have the other one coming up, and then outfield defensively. I mean, we saw countless defensive mistakes by the Yankees throughout the playoffs, even in the World Series. One of them costing a game right by Aaron Judge in center field. I think that was in the World Series, where it was just that completely missed ball. And Soto was honestly defensively probably their best outfielder. Offensively, I mean, Judge had the year that he had, won the MVP. So, you know, they were fine there, but I mean, you heard him complaining throughout the year about, you know, Verdugo out there in outfield at some points, and how he was a very cold bat, and some Yankee fans were like turning on him throughout the year. And now you add a little bit more uncertainty to that outfield, whereas I think we're in a better position not landing him because, you know, like we mentioned when we first talked about this Soto signing a couple episodes back, not these most recent two, because it's been all that we've talked about with the Sox. If we did sign Soto, it was potentially going to throw us into a logjam at outfield, with Roman Anthony coming up, with Abreu still there, with Duran. I think this is all right because it doesn't force our hand to move one of those guys that, you know, we had fallen in love with this year. And it potentially does give you the option to still move on from an Abreu or a Cassius or whatever it may be for a pitcher, but it doesn't force your hand as much anymore. And I think maybe one of the reasons why, you know, they capped out at 700, which, number one, like we mentioned, it's a lot of fucking money. If you don't sign for 700, not like good riddance, but okay. But now, you know, maybe you can move a guy for a pitcher. Maybe you go sign a Teoscar who could play a DH, who could play an outfield. But most importantly, I think the two names that were going around this the whole time was Duran and was Abreu. And now you get to keep your team chemistry intact a little more than if you made a huge splash move in Soto and then had to move potentially a clubhouse favorite or something in Duran or Abreu, one of which who just won a Gold Glove in the right field, you know? So there's two different ways to look at this completely. If you're a Sox fan listening to this, I'd recommend that, you know, you handle it kind of how we are. It's fine that he doesn't go with us. It would have been cool. But personally for me, I'm happy if they gave the Sox the option after the Mets sent in this 15-7-65 to say, match it and we will go to Boston. I'm happy we did it. That's what I'll leave this off on saying.
Absolutely. The money was just, you said it earlier, 65 million, not that much, you know, potentially more for an organization like the Red Sox, but what's it going to do? How's it going to handicap? How's it going to look, you know, for Duran when he's coming up, you know, for renewal? You know, do you end up, you know, putting some money back in and you know, hopefully Tristan, you know, is a player that we've hoped that he'd become, and keep him with some of that money instead of letting him walk or you know, trade him. I think, you know, basically the team, as you said earlier too, great team chemistry. I mean, they did an amazing thing that we did not predict them to be, almost making the playoffs. I think they were, you know, we would have said easily a fourth, if not battling for fifth place again in this division. Let's keep this team chemistry going. Let's have this excitement. You know, the style again is that speed. Soto would have been, yes, a player that does get hits, but it's also a home run ball too. And, we're probably not relying on that. It's base to base. It's using that speed that we have. It's freeing up, Campbell. It's freeing up these guys, these young talent, to be able to play instead of having somebody at that corner outfield that is having to get 155 games at the least.
And not only that, just another point to bring up. With a contract like that, it's one of those guys that, like, you have to have him in the lineup every day. Like you're saying, 155. But not only just for the fact of to get your money's worth, but when you're spending that much money on a player, it's not even like, hey, we'll take you out of the lineup for 3 days if he's cold or something. We got to get you right. Let's give you a couple days off and you just gotta force yourself through it. And that could put not only him as a player, but you as a team at a disadvantage until they figure it out. He would be occupying the 3 spot. That is not a spot that you can afford shit in the bed on. So yeah, I'm completely fine with this. It would have been cool. Don't get me wrong. I was totally in on the Juan Soto being a Red Sox rumors and stuff for the last couple of weeks. I saw so many photoshops of him in a Red Sox jersey, and damn, it looked good. But we're in a fine spot. We still have some money to, address some other needs and go after some of these bigger guys. And quite frankly, I'm happy where this team's at. I think we're in a better situation missing out on Soto than some of the other suitors that were in there, more namely the Yanks. Now, granted, we know how the Yankees are when it comes to the offseason and spending money, and they'll go out and they'll try to get their guys, and they're probably going to be dicks, and they're probably going to join in on the Teoscar Hernandez thing as well, where we're going in with the Dodgers, I'm sure. I'm seeing something from 9 hours ago here that the Red Sox have yet to step up Teoscar efforts meaningfully. Soto to the Mets doesn't help them with that pursuit either, because Dodgers and Yankees believe to still be in it big. I think just with what Teoscar said, it's either going to come down to the Dodgers or the Sox. I don't think it matters how much the Yankees are going to offer him. But if you want to play in Fenway, that's something that you're not just going to give up because the Yankees offer you more. Granted, you will still play in Fenway if you go to the Yanks, but for 10 games a year, not 81.
And think about this. If you are Teoscar and you showed some promise this year, do you want to be the guy whoever the Yankees look to sign, you're going to have to fill Juan Soto's shoes. And that's not possible. So even though we did not get him, you said it, it's an addition by subtraction. The Yankees definitely got hurt by this, probably more than we did. And it can only help us out, especially if we end up getting Corbin Burns, as you said. Now we hurt the Orioles. So 2 of the teams that were above you in this division get hurt by subtraction. O'Neill's not somebody that's going to help them out that much, the Baltimore Orioles. So if we can now go after an arm, get Burns, which would be fantastic for us. Addition by subtraction.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll move on from the Sox here. We'll continue to monitor some off-season rumors and stuff going forward in the next couple weeks. Hope that we can break the news of a great pitching signing soon. But it is done. The Juan Soto Sweepstakes is done, guys. Stop holding your breath. We can just look forward to the next steps, whatever it is we can make. And I'm fine about it. Kind of just everybody was sitting at a standstill waiting for this to happen. And now we can focus on really addressing the holes in this team that we need to, that are going to make it better. That's the biggest thing too. The last thing I will say, whenever we had first talked about this, we came in here saying, we don't really need an outfielder, but damn, it'd be great to land a player of Juan Soto's caliber. We were going to force that fit regardless. Now we can really focus on what we know we needed, which was pitching first, which was bullpen help, and which was, a right-handed and a left-handed bat if you got the money left over. Somebody on the Red Sox Reddit, actually, that I'm on, said, well, now that Soto's off the table, let's save some of that money for Vlad Guerrero Jr. next season in free agency, which is a great way to look at it too. If we do end up moving on from Cashes or something this offseason for pitching trade. So lot to look forward to. Still very happy with this team, and we'll continue to monitor what other changes they end up making. All right. We'll move on to the Patriots here. This is going to be a quick one because Patriots didn't play this week on the bye. The one thing I do want to bring up, though, is the fact that even while not playing this week, the Patriots still definitely benefited themselves with a Jaguars win over the Tennessee Titans. It threw us from, I think, 6th in the draft order all the way up to 3rd. Outside of the Raiders at 1 and the Giants at 2 now, we are slotted in at the first pick out of the 2 teams, or out of the 3 teams that will not need a quarterback. I think we can all assume that Las Vegas most likely might be going Shedeur Sanders or something like that. Giants then at 2. I was thinking a lot of this might come down to Jalen Milroe, but at the 2, and you have your option between him and Cam Ward, it might be one of them. So that would leave, after our conversation last week, most likely the Heisman and Travis Hunter available to the Patriots at 3, which would be a great weapon to add. I haven't necessarily fallen in love with the idea of Travis Hunter in New England. I'm sure he would be a great fit, and if that's what's going to happen, that'd be great because he is a dynamic player. Even regardless of everything I said about him winning the Heisman last week, is a great player. He'd be a great talent. And I did see something on Twitter last night that I didn't think about until right now. Not only do we know how Hunter would be on the offensive end, because we do need some offensive help. We need a weapon for Drake, a weapon that Drake can grow with, build the chemistry. We thought that was going to be Jalen Polk. It hasn't really been that yet so far this year. Travis Hunter would walk in, be an instantly dynamic wide receiver for you. Your surefire number 1, so much of a surefire number 1 that you are creating plays around him. And as some people were talking about on Twitter, and they were thinking about this part of the Travis Hunter edition, him opposite of Christian Gonzalez for the next couple of years at your cornerback position. While he is not necessarily locked down, people are not going to want to throw to his side. That is something that could 100% be great to look forward to. We know, even throughout the last couple of years where we've struggled, there's been Gonzo and then, a Jonathan Jones or something, and we felt okay about our top 2 quarterback pairings. But if you bring in Gonzo and Travis Hunter, you're having 2 cornerback 1s at your cornerback positions that can both then lock down the outside, lock down the lines and try to limit those big explosive plays that have been killing us defensively this season. But then also a guy in Hunter that, if you don't want him out there on the boundary too much, could fit in really well at that nickel corner position, where I feel like we would utilize him a lot because of the weird defensive schemes and everything that we do use on the defense. I'll give you both options here. How do you think he fills in for us defensively, opposite of Gonzalez? And then how much do you think he would fit in offensively, and how dynamic would he be in I don't even need to say accelerating Drake May's growth, but giving him the weapon that he needs.
Well, at his if he's going to want to play a majority of snaps as he has in college, the kid is gonna have to put on some muscle. He is so slight build. Now, obviously, that probably helps him, those fast twitch muscles, to be able to play, all these 100 snaps. But this is the NFL. If you're bringing him in as another, one cornerback shutdown, he's only going to probably play offensively, on third down options as well. I do not see him having that capability of being able to play 100 odd receptions. Yes, I mean, we've already done it before with Edelman. We've done it with Troy Brown, playing some defensive snaps as well. You saw Marcus Jones doing some offensive. If I'm just sitting back going, do you take a cornerback, a cornerback, if you want that shutdown as your number 3, and we can have him play some offense, but it's not going to be, 40 snaps on offense. He might be 25 to 30. I would rather, if you're sitting there at the number 3rd pick, can you just imagine all those teams wanting Hunter and what you could end up getting by trading that out?
That is a great point, because everybody's going to want the dynamic player in Travis Hunter. Mm-hmm. Yes, if you can find, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I won't bring it up at this point necessarily or go look into it too much about the draft order, because we've still got 4 more regular season weeks. A lot of these picks can get shuffled around. But yeah, if we could find a team that is willing to move a back end of the top 10, back end of the teens pick to us for Hunter, or, a first this year, but we move down 10 picks to 13 to 14. You add a second and a first or something next year. I know that's a lot for Hunter, but you get what I'm saying here.
I don't think
definitely going to. I don't think it is. I think somebody will pay for it. Because we'd have all the leverage. We can fit him into our system if we need to. Don't get me wrong. But if you want that dynamic player in Travis Hunter, you want that guy that's going to play both ways. Cough up the fucking bread. We can move him, but we're not going to. This is our golden ticket, really.
Yeah.
If you think about it. If we stay where we're at, this is our golden ticket in accelerating a rebuild, in adding either the Heisman or adding picks and players equivalent to him over the next 2 years or so, to really help out Drake. So it's a great position to be in. It's not forcing our hand, and we'll continue to monitor this. It's almost at the point where it's so good of a position that you hope they just go 3-14 and just lose out, and if we sneak out a win over the Cardinals or the Bills or something coming up, or the Chargers, going to be like, hey guys, calm the fuck down. Make sure you lose the next week, but it'll be interesting to look forward to here. And this is as slow as it's going to be when it comes to the Travis Hunter and these trade talks. As we get more into the year, as we get closer to the combine, all of this is going to ramp up, and it's going to be a huge offseason conversation.
The kid is not going to do anything at the combine either. He's going to say, here's my tape. He might run, but that's it. He's not going to do anything at the combine.
He doesn't need to.
No, yeah. So it's him winning potentially the Heisman, most likely, and us, just sitting there at 3 and being able to trade. I would trade the pick. I would. I don't see, and he's going to want to come in and do both too. He's just going to be, heck, I would absolutely love, and I hate the Jets, but I would love to trade him to the Jets for a boatload of stuff and just watch the Jets be the Jets again.
And fuck up another great pick.
Yeah, and trying to fit that personality. I mean, his personality just, nothing wrong with the kid. I mean, I've seen some YouTube stuff on him, whatnot. I mean, good kid, but I don't see him fitting in to the Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriot way and everything. I don't think it fits.
Yeah.
And not only just the personality and stuff like you're saying, that is a big guy, needs a big market. Travis Hunter, very marketable, all of that. The last thing I want to say about this, you're going to have whoever drafts him, just like whoever drafts Shador, you're going to have Deion Sanders in your ear for his whole entire career.
Yeah.
You are going to have to deal with that. It's going to be like a Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball sort of situation again, except not the, the father-son thing going on. You're going to have Deion in your ear, even with him staying at Colorado, like I do anticipate him doing. So at a certain point, it's like, hey, do you want to deal with that? Or do you just want to fucking go out there and play football on Sundays? Do you want to deal with the extracurriculars? Or do you want to make a trade for a couple of guys that are not going to be as loud, but are going to help you in just as many ways as Travis? And I'm going to go with the second one 9 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah. Great that we ended up having the third pick and having probably, as definitely you projected after the draft, having the best quarterback coming out. Obviously, so far. We haven't seen, and I was listening to Pardon My Take, they were just joking, saying, JJ McCarthy somehow is going to become the best out of this, quarterback group, just the way that it is. But I think they were having obviously fun and joking with it. But to Big Cat's demise, I think. But yeah, man, Drake he's shown that he can elevate DeMario, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. Already. Kayshon Boutte, yes, somebody we thought wasn't even going to be on the roster. So Jalen Polk just needs some time. Baker, hopefully, is whatever's going on with him in the locker room or what have you, get another year. I mean, those two guys will only be in their second year, and DeMario's going to be in year 3?
Yeah. I mean, and I think we worry about the wide receivers in this draft class just because of some of the terrible luck we've had in drafting wide receivers recently. And I mean, most recently, Tyquan Thornton, second round out of Baylor, cut him a couple weeks ago. So I understand, the worry, but we don't need to pump the brakes, or we need to pump the brakes on these guys so far. They are still rookies. We can't write them off after fucking 13 weeks, guys. They might need some time. While Polk was a great prospect, it looked like, and taking him in the second round there, I don't think anybody expected him to come in and be an impact player right away. Same thing with Javon Baker. We knew he was a project. We knew that he's very athletic, and if he hits, it's going to be very good for us. But any Patriots fan that was telling you right after the draft, I feel good about these guys starting week 1 or week 4 and coming in and being instant playmakers, they're lying to you. All right. And that is how the timeline goes for these rookie wide receivers that aren't, a Garrett Wilson or fucking Amon-Ra St. Brown. You only hit, the league as a whole only hits on those wide receivers that come in and are instant playmakers a handful of times every draft. So we can pump the brakes on worrying about the wide receivers and stuff. They weren't going to come in and be fucking Megatron by week 13. We can give them some time here and see what else that we can add in the offseason and in the draft when it comes to those weapons to really help out Drake. And regardless of what we draft and whatever we add, Like you said, Drake is just, he can show that he can elevate players, whoever's going to be out there in the field with him. So, all right. You got anything else about the Pats, or we can move on here?
Really quick. Yeah, but really quick. Not too, but
you're cutting in and out here.
Oh, yeah, it's because I ended up opening up another tab.
Yeah, we got you. We got you back.
Internet. We had internet. Yeah, we had internet problems already this morning. I just looked up teams, multiple draft picks. Chicago Bears. They have a first and 2 seconds.
I don't see them. The only thing is after what happened with Caleb trying to be this generational guy and he's not being what he was, hyped up to be, I don't see them making a move to move up to get Travis. Unless, I don't know. I mean, fucking Chicago's a shit show. Maybe their front office does say, oh, well, Caleb didn't work out for us yet, but if we bring in another dynamic player to pair alongside him, that's going to fix him, magically. I don't know. They could do it. And I think it's very dependent on how the rest of their year goes. Now, granted, they have lost like 7 straight ever since starting out 4-2. But then again, they've only beat bad teams. So I don't know if you think that you're one Travis Hunter away from turning that team around in Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of other shit that goes into that. The guys haven't had a coach that is good enough to, really elevate that team in fucking God knows how long. I think a lot of the problems stem way farther back than just something that a Travis Hunter would fix in Chicago. So I don't think I see them pulling the trigger and making a move with us.
Okay. Point, but if you end up getting Ben Johnson as your head coach, could you just see what he could try and scheme up? And that's going to be, the picks that we want, because you probably are not going to fall too far back with the first. And then if you can gain a second, maybe even the Panthers second, which Chicago has. Man, I mean, I would, you could potentially get your left tackle that you need. And I don't think the kid from Arizona State is going to fall into the second round, but if you get out, again, we would have the 3rd second round pick, he would be great. I would love that kid from Arizona State.
Talking about the running back?
Oh, no, the wide receiver.
Oh, you're talking about McMillan from Arizona. No, he's not making it.
Arizona.
He'll be a top 10 pick, but that is something you could get with, looking at it now, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bears are slotted in at 9. Do they have the Panthers' first overall pick or first round pick this year too, or just the second?
Just the second.
Okay, but then that's the 4th pick in the second round. I mean, something like you move from 3 to 9 with the Bears, and then you get Panther second this year, Panther second next year. I'd be fine with that. I think that's a good enough price. But who knows? There's also, the Bears are sitting there at 9. They got the Bengals right behind them at 10 at 4 and 8. And then ahead of the Bears, you got the Browns, Jets, Titans, Jags, Panthers, Pats, all 3 and 10. I'm not sure how the strength of schedule goes and everything like that. Actually, I can find it in Tankathon right now. NFL draft order. Okay. Chicago strength of schedule is the highest out of these remaining teams. So they're going to need to lose out, and Cleveland, Jets, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Carolina, one of those is going to need to win at least like 2 more games to get them ahead. But it also depends too. The strength of schedule is dynamic. So if some of those other teams that Chicago has played end up winning, it could put them farther back up in that draft order. I will say the thing that's hurting us really bad when it comes to that is how good the rest of the NFC North is. This has to consider 6 games, 2 against the Lions, 2 against the Packers, 2 against the Vikings. And between the 3 of those teams, you've got a combined, 30 wins right now, and we're in week 14. So that's where a lot of their strength of schedule is coming from. If maybe some of these other teams that they're playing throughout the rest of the year end up losing, we could see Chicago move up a little bit. But they are pretty high up in that strength of schedule right now at a 5-6-6. Yeah, Cleveland at 5-2-3, Jets at 5-1-6, Tennessee 5-0-9, and then everybody outside of that, Jags, Carolina, New England, is under 500. So the NFC North is definitely helping them out there, but we'll see what happens towards the end of this year. All right. Bruins.
Bruins. What a week.
What a week. And something, let me start with this one. Wait, I think I'm about to sneeze. I don't know. We'll see if it comes mid-statement here. They flashed up this graphic. I think it was NHL Network. This was on they posted it up on the 5th. So this was before the Flyers game on Saturday that we did end up winning too. So I'll adjust these stats accordingly. Before then, ever since hiring Joe Sacco as the interim head coach on November 19th, the Bruins are now 7-2 with 27 goals and 28 goals allowed. Their penalty kill was at 95%. I don't know how to do the math on that in my head for what happened in the Flyers game, but those are great numbers. We look at this week as a whole, and we had, like I said, the win against the Flyers at home on Saturday. I said if we were going to drop one this week, it would be that one. But you do take that win. You beat the Blackhawks 4-2 in Chicago on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, the first of the back-to-back, another overtime win against the Red Wings. 3-0 week for the Bruins. Exactly what we've been needing, exactly what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, just to finally get a good week and be able to hit the restart button and be like, all right, now we go. And that's exactly what they did right ahead of this game against the Jets that I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks, how this is our real next test after we fired Montgomery. He used these games before here to get set up, get the game or get the team back to, game ready. And hopefully that this week and how they feel they can play, how they know they can play based off of the results of this week is going to carry over and bring us some momentum playing against a great team in Winnipeg as our first real test in a while. We'll look ahead at the rest of this week here too. Jets tomorrow, Kraken on Thursday in Seattle at 10, Saturday at the Canucks at 10 o'clock. And then game after that is next Tuesday, so we don't have to worry about that one right now. So it seems like we're going on a little bit of we're starting out a West road trip here for 5 games. And that's fine. I'd love to get them all out of the way. I love these West road trips. Maybe the first one, it does suck that the first one is against the Jets, with this game meaning so much to us in terms of, establishing that we're still a contender. There's going to be a little bit of the jet lag. There's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. So you would hope that maybe this was like the third on this road trip. But I feel like we're still in a good spot. With the Jets, Kraken, and Canucks up on deck, Dad, what do you see for this week from the Bees?
Yes, West Road Coast trip. Hopefully the boys can get together, come together even more so. You just mentioned, they got a 4-game winning streak right now, 7-2 with your new coach. Pavel Zacha is your shootout or overtime specialist at this point. loving how he is scoring some goals. It's amazing to see that, again, our number one offensive player in Pasta has more assists than goals at this point. Looking to make that pass, looking to be an overall, I think, offensive weapon. Unfortunately, I think Winnipeg, we do lose, but we'll get 2 more wins afterward because the team can settle down. So I'm going to say a 2-1 week that you'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would love to say that we'll beat the Jets tomorrow, and because it's been this real test, and it might come out that we do. But I do think it's going to be a 2-1 week, regardless. If you beat the Jets, I think you lose to the Canucks. If you lose to the Jets, I think you beat the Canucks and win out the rest of that West Coast road trip here. So we'll see. I mean, I've been talking about this for a while. I got a lot of stock in this game tomorrow. I'm definitely going to have to give it a watch and see just how this team's going to operate against a team that, if you're going to want to win the cup, you're going to have to see this team come May and June. So it'll be interesting.
I love the offensive mindset that Joe has brought. Everyone, the defensive members are pushing it deep into the offensive zone when they have the puck. I saw Andrew Pecky just carrying it in and going deep, and then they just look to pass it back into the middle. To be able to come back from the Philadelphia game when you were down 3-1 and to come back, and Brazo, Trent Frederick is starting to play well, Charlie Coyle as well, and again Sacco. Man, I really do love that guy. He just seems to be able to win and help us win in these overtime games.
Here's some great stats that I'm seeing that I'll leave us off on before we move on from the Bees. One of the biggest parts, or one of the biggest areas of concern with this team was their ability to, or more so the lack of their ability to close out games in the third period. With Montgomery, I played 20 games. These are just third period stats. 20 games, 9 goals for in the third period, which was 32nd in the league. 21 goals against in the third, which is 16th in the league, and a minus 12 goal differential in the third period, which made for 32nd in the league. Since firing Montgomery on the 19th, in the third period, we have 9 games with Sacco, 10 goals for, tied 7th in the league, 5 goals against, that's tied 2nd in the league, and then goal differential at +5, which is tied for 5th in the league. So the confidence is back, to be able to close out these games. I know we had talked about maybe this is going to inject life in them or a nice little reset, and it definitely seems like it's doing such. Very encouraging improvement from this team in the third period. These games are 60 minutes. They're not 40. So it's a great thing that we're seeing these numbers and this drastic of a change so quickly that I definitely feel like, with it being such a quick change and being so consistent so far through 9 games, it is going to see something. It is going to be something that we see throughout the rest of the year in their ability to close out these games. It's not just, a little blip of this because of, injecting new life with a new coach. No, I think this is really what Sacco's preaching to this team. We are a good team. Let's just finish out these games. And I think they're doing such perfectly. So,
yeah. And what about the shots? Any stats on what it appears that we've obviously increased our shots, but I think we are leading at least more shots on net over our competitors in these last 9 games as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't have any stats on it, but I mean, just from the eye of watching the games and even just watching box scores, it definitely seems like we're more aggressive, more efficient with our shots.
And it all stems
back. Yeah, and I think it all just stems back to your confidence as a player first, but as a line then second, because you got to work it. You got to work it from the bottom up. These guys got to have confidence in themselves to be able to bring it to their line. Then you have confidence in the line, and it's so now line 2, 3, 4, they've got confidence in themselves. That radiates towards the whole team. That radiates not only just offensively, but to the defensive pairings as well. And the whole team is finally just playing in sync, which was been the most frustrating part of this team throughout the first 20 games with Montgomery. Was we came in here every week talking about talent-wise and everything. We know this team can be good. They're just not putting it together. You finally got to the point where they're putting it together. They're playing as one. They are playing as a team. And they're complementing themselves really good, and it's very encouraging to see. So
yeah, and not the line shifting and pairs and gonna move this guy up, game after game. No, these lines have been set. Morgan Geekie is playing well on the top line, and Elias and Brad are looking well. So yeah, I'm very encouraged. Yeah. And having we're only 3 points out of the top in the division.
Yeah, we are 1 point out from second place in Toronto. I think it's 36, 34, 33 right now. Granted, we do have the most games played out of all of them. We've got 1 game up on Florida and I think 2 games up on Toronto. But you can make that back. We're going to see both of those teams at least 2 more times, I believe, this year. It might be 3 for Toronto. I don't know. I'm not going to go back and look through the whole schedule right now. But you got at least 4 games between the 2 of those teams to make up ground on them. So I'm not worrying right now. We just got into December. It's going to make for a great second 60% of this year as we go forward and finally feel confident about the product that the Bruins are putting on the ice every game.
Yep.
All right.
Encouraged.
Last one here. We'll move on to the Celtics. Another great week by the Celtics outside of 1 loss on Saturday because the Cavs game, we already went over that last week. Outside of a loss to the Grizzlies on Saturday, you take down the Heat on Monday very easily, 108-89. Beat the Pistons on Wednesday, 130-120. You've got a win against the Bucks on Friday, 111-105, and then the loss to the Grizzlies, like I said, on Saturday, 127-121. I don't think I mentioned it being the Grizzlies. However, I did discuss this last week that based off of how this week was scheduled, playing 5 games in like 8 days, I was expecting a loss here in one of them. So I literally could not care less about this loss. I think one was due. That's what happens when these guys play this many games in a week. The schedule makers were really trying to force feed the Celtics a loss, and they got lucky because it only happened by 6 points. Now we get a huge break because of the fact that we did not make the NBA Cup. We talked about this these last couple of weeks. Boo-hoo. Oh, don't care. I guess we have to settle for the real thing. It's also, there's something about this cup. I know we talked about it last week. It's something for these other teams that aren't necessarily going to win it all to play for. I think that's very evident this year as opposed to the quarterfinal round that we got last year. You have the 2 finalist teams from last year didn't even make it. Lakers aren't in it, who end up winning it last year. Pacers aren't in it. The NBA defending champion isn't in it. I think this year's NBA Cup has just a little less at stake. I think people saw it the first year. Oh, yeah, it was cool. Go try to win the first one. Now we don't really fucking care. I think these teams definitely are thinking about it in the way that we did, that it gives you a perfect opportunity to just get some rest. And I think the Celtics are completely fine with missing it. Honestly, we were 1 game away from it. We were talking about how the Bucks or the Pistons needed to win by at least 6 or 7. The Bucks absolutely blew out the Pistons, so we were fine in that regard. But the Orlando Magic did not come to play, and also got dog walked by the Knicks. So we miss it there barely too. They were getting blown out bad in that game, so badly that we didn't really think it would be an option. But I got a notification from the NBA account at some point in the third saying, well, if the Magic lose by more than 37, the Celtics could still make it into the NBA Cup. So if that gives you any sort of indication on how bad that game was going for the Magic, there it is. But we get a break all the way until Thursday. We got 2 games added on to our schedule because of the fact that we did miss the Cup. We play the Pistons on Thursday, and then we get a couple days off, and then we play the Wizards on Sunday. Honestly, this worked out perfectly for us. You get a week off, and then you get to play 2 of the shittier teams in the East, 2 what should be very easy wins ahead of what's a really nice 4-game stretch for us here. Pistons, Wizards, Bulls, and then the Magic and the 76ers leading up to Christmas. So I'm fine with missing this. I'm not losing any sleep over not playing in the Consolation NBA Cup. And I think you probably agree with me, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we already said that the guys have been playing a lot of basketball, have a little break, rest up. Obviously, White had some injuries, have him rest up. Jalen was ill, but obviously he's probably better now.
Even Tatum had a game off this week because of some knee thing against the Pistons, I think.
So, and yeah, I heard a broadcast too. You end up getting so one of the broadcasts, whoever I was listening to, said, yeah, the Celtics end up not making it, and then they get the two lower end teams to have to play. Was that really fair? It's sad that we go 3-1 and you go, it was an okay week. I mean, I was hoping a 4-0, but your loss is against the Western, so it really doesn't hurt you at all. It's just, the Cavs just are playing very well at this point. But at some point, they got to come back down to earth. And the Celtics, they don't come down to earth. Yeah,
this is how they play.
This is how they play. So they're not coming back down. They are, where they are, Jupiter, wherever, way up there. So we just have such high expectations, but 19-5, I mean, you're still on pace for some record-setting,
probably
end of year season.
And I think you're still technically on pace for, I think, better than last year right now. I knew going into last week we were on pace for a better record, or we based off of where we were at last year. And I think we're still right there. So nothing to worry about. I mean, it's same shit, different day every week with the Celtics here. We got the high expectations, but they know that. They've got high expectations for themselves, and that comes with being the defending champion, but also being in the midst of what's going to be a dynasty when it's all said and done.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's all I've got about the C's. Should we move on to the big one here?
Yeah, let's go.
College football playoff bracket got revealed yesterday, and oh boy, are we in for a great couple games in this college football playoff run. We'll go through these seeds really quick, as I'm sure most people kept up with conference championship weekend and know what happened. Number 1, we'll go with the buys. We've got Oregon, the Big Ten champion, at the number 1 seed. You got Georgia, the number 2 seed, the SEC champion, after upsetting Texas this last weekend. You've got Boise State at the 3 seed after a 21-7 win over UNLV in the Mountain West Championship. And then you've got Arizona State, the Big 12 champion, after absolutely dismantling Iowa State on Saturday. They get the 4, and they get a bye. At the 5-12 matchup, you got Clemson the ACC champion at, they're number 12 at number 5 Texas. That game's going to be phenomenal. You've got the number 9 seed in Tennessee that will be traveling to Ohio State to take on the 8 seed Buckeyes. You got the number 11 seed SMU, ACC runner-up, at number 6 seed Penn State in the first round. And then you got number 10 seed Indiana at number 7 Notre Dame. First 2 teams out was Alabama and Miami. I think everybody knows that, as that was the biggest thing that came out of the selection of these teams, and Alabama fans bitching about why they missed it, even though damn well they know how they should have. So, Dad, we'll do this. I'm going to bring up these lines. We have lines for the first round games. We're going to go through these, but then we're also going to go through our whole brackets here, and we're going to pick the champion. So, for the first round,
I want to say this. So, that pool that we do, you and I are in, there is as well a college football bracket pool.
I'll make one for us then.
So, listeners, and I know you're out there, I know that we ended up getting some numbers, some figures on all you that listen, and we're extremely thrilled, I guess humbled that a bunch of you have voted us your number one spot podcast to listen to. I want to put it out there that if you can beat not just us individually, but I think if you can pick it right and beat us combined, podcast, we got some gifts for you. So I know you'll put that on our social media. I hope we can have you enter in and try and beat us.
Yeah, compete with us a little bit. Good point. Thanks for bringing that up. I just do want to say, so it isn't voted. However, he's mentioning about the Spotify Wraps that came out this last week. Since we do have our podcast on there, we get one as creators, and it was put that we have 9 of you that have us as your most listened to podcast on Spotify throughout all of 2024. If you would have told us 49 episodes that at the end of this year, we'd almost have 10 collective people that listen to our podcast the most on one of the most listened to podcast apps or platforms, we would have thought you were fucking crazy. So we appreciate all of you guys. We appreciate all you guys for listening and continuing to be consistent listeners. Very, very, very thankful for a great 2024 and are so excited to see what 2025 brings to a new era podcast. All right, so we'll move on to these games here. We'll start off with the first one, the 7-10 matchup, Indiana at Notre Dame. This is the only one that's happening on Friday, December 20th, 8 p.m. It's going to be on ABC and ESPN in Notre Dame Stadium. Notre Dame favored by 8 points, over under 50.5. Let me just say, Dad, before we get into all these, I saw all these opening lines. I think I am going to be on the underdog for every single one of these games. And once you hear all these lines, you're probably going to agree.
Yeah, I am a big Notre Dame fan. Indiana, I mean, obviously an in-state. I mean, this is incredible. In-state, so it's not the home field advantage that Notre Dame or some of these, obviously, these northern teams against the South, where, you know, everyone was talking about, is not going to be there for them. I mean, hell, it'll be, that stadium will probably be 50-50 in terms of fan base. I still think, though, Notre Dame is on a roll at this point. Offensively, Riley Leonard is a team captain, team leader. I saw that he ended up giving some of his NIL money off to his offensive linemen. He donated or gave that to them. The kid's trying to be a winner for them. They will win this, but I do agree. 8 points, that's a lot. I will take Indiana points.
Yeah, I'll take the Indiana points. I do see Notre Dame winning this game. I will say there is going to be one of these underdogs that wins this game, wins one of these first round games outright. You just got to figure out which one it's going to be. It may be Indiana. I think they match up actually a lot better with Notre Dame than a lot of people think they will. But 8 points at this point in the year is way too many. I'm taking Indiana to cover 100%. This could be a 34-30 type game, 24-20. It's not getting outside of a touchdown, I don't believe. Moving on to Saturday, we've got 3 games, one at 12, one at 4, one at 8. This is on the 21st. First one at 12 o'clock, we got SMU at Penn State. Penn State will be doing a whiteout for this home game, actually. But there's something about the whiteout that isn't as scary when you're doing it at noontime. Should have been an 8. Yeah. We got Penn State -9, over under 53.5. This is screaming SMU +9 to me. I do not believe with anything in my body that Penn State is 9 points better than SMU, even being at home. This could be one of them where I completely see the underdog winning outright.
Oh, I do too. I think SMU coming and coming back. I thought, obviously at halftime, I thought this game almost looked over, and SMU coming back. I think the speed alone is something that Penn State is going to have a very difficult time.
I mean, we saw some of that speed kill them this last weekend against Oregon. Yep. You've got a team that's got some explosive playmakers on the outside that can beat you vertically, that can beat you on the short game. And I think that's also, like you're saying, where SMU is going to match up really well here.
And Jennings, the quarterback, he can roll out, he can run. I don't think Penn State, you know what? They're happy they got in here. They're happy that they're the 4th overall ranked team in the nation. But as much as we are Tony Franklin
James Franklin.
Fans, James Franklin, sorry. This is why we need you. James Franklin fans, we were excited to see what he did at Vanderbilt. But he's going to find some way to make a mistake. Don't have confidence in their quarterback to end up, pulling it out, especially if it's going to be tight at the end. So I agree with you. I'll take SMU points, but I think SMU does win this game.
Not only are you saying I think they're happy they got in, I think SMU is past that mental hurdle now. They've been on this edge for a little bit of, are they going to make it? Are they not? You lose the ACC championship. You go down 17-0. You're worrying, hey, maybe the committee's not going to, value us because of this. I saw something on Twitter that said Dabo's really smart. He purposely went and blew a 17-point lead so that Alabama would get left out and SMU would stay in, which don't think about it too much, but honestly, it is a great case. I think SMU over that mental hurdle in the ACC championship, you still made it in regardless of the loss. Now it's just next game up, next man up, keep on going. 9 points is way too many. Give me SMU +9 and give me them to win this as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also as well, approve it still. I mean, there's so much that I think still have to prove. Yes, we went from the AAC to the ACC in our first year and made the conference final. But still, are they, a program that's going to be up on the rise for years to come? And this is a prove it still game for them. Everyone's saying that Alabama should have been in it. Let's just, everyone's against us. We barely made it in. if you will, at the 11th seed. Yeah, prove us wrong. We'll they might just destroy Penn State.
I could see it. I really could. I wouldn't hate seeing it either. I like this SMU team. From all of the shit that people have been saying about them all year, I have been one to stand on business with this SMU team. I think they are good. I really do, and I think they're built for this moment. And I think we're going to see a classic shit the bed by Penn State. We know what they do in these big time games.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it so much against Oregon. That was a great team, but they had ample opportunities to win that game against Oregon this last weekend and somehow just could not pull it out. And I think SMU is going to give them SMU is going to have their best game of the season here. They're going to be well prepared. I mean, we have 11 days until we see these games. Game plan really well around it. And yeah, I see them taking this one. Moving on to the 4:00 game, we got number 12 Clemson at number 5 Texas in what is the most downright disrespectful line of the first round. We got Texas minus 11 over under 51.5. Give me all of Clemson plus 11. Yes, Texas is a good team. We have now seen you have the blueprint to beat Texas. It is play them exactly like Georgia did. And if you're giving Dabo Swinney and this Clemson team now 12 days or 11 days to game plan and to get prepared for this Texas team, 11 points is way too much. I know it's going to be down there in Austin. I know it's going to be loud and everything. But this Clemson team is still the ACC champion, and I do not think they are getting enough respect with this 11-point line.
Yeah, agree. I think, though, some way Texas does find a way to win it. Just too much, probably, talent all around. But, this is a big game for yours. He's got to do something. But yet, yeah, Clemson a little bit off, but they're in the same mold as that Georgia, right? Maybe, granted, not as talented, but still some studs on the defensive side. The running back situation, though, for Clemson right now is
shaky.
Very shaky. So it can't be, as much of a ball controlled game as Georgia probably did to Texas. But yeah, Cade Klubnik will do some magic. But again, it's a battle of two quarterbacks that can look really good and then do something stupid right at the end of the game. And that's what's going to happen. One of these guys is going to do something stupid. And as much as, we're close here in the Carolinas to Clemson, and I have some good Clemson friends, but I don't think that they'll be able to finish it off. I think Texas will. But it'll be close.
Well, let me interest you in a narrative that might shift your belief in this Clemson team, and one that, while I am taking the Clemson points, I think they could possibly still win this game. Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers knew each other very well because they went to back-to-back state championships in high school in, you guessed it, Austin, Texas. This is a homecoming game for Cade Klubnik, who is 2-0 against Quinn Ewers in the high school state championships. There's something there, and a homecoming game for Cade, game in which they had to win the ACC to make it. I think he's coming in extra motivated, and I really like that for Clemson with all of this time in between these games. I'm not usually a guy to want to jump in on the narratives and really, hold on to those, but there's something about this one that is just telling me Clemson's going to stay in this game, and Cade wants to win this one really fucking bad.
You know what? Yeah, you just swayed me, man. You did.
Yeah.
I want Clemson to continue this run. Just part of me is a little worried and jumping on the Clemson bandwagon, but yeah, you swayed me. At first I wanted to say Clemson, but I was worried that you were just going to laugh me out. But giving me all that too, yeah,
No,
I'll switch. I'll take the second upset of the day, having Clemson Tigers win.
Really liking Clemson, and I really think Texas or Vegas is just asking you to take Texas at -11 because everybody's looking at that line like we are. Why is this 11 points in the first round that Clemson should be in this? They're asking you to take Texas because they really think everybody's going to be on Clemson because it's too many points, all of this, blah, blah, blah. No, I like Clemson here. I'm starting to not like how much I'm falling in love with Clemson in this spot. Okay. And then the last one of the first round to end off the 21st at 8:00, number 9 Tennessee at number 8 Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 7.5 points, over under 47.5. Once again, way too many points. And when I said one of these underdogs will win outright, it will be the Tennessee Volunteers in Ohio on Saturday night.
Wow. Bold statement. Very bold statement. I know you've been high. You ever since you went to Rocky Top, you've been high.
There's some magic there.
On Tennessee. I mean, not.
Yeah.
Let's preface, not high. I, though, am going to go Ohio State personally.
Taking the points?
No, I will take Tennessee points, but I'll take Ohio State to find a way to pull it out. It's a career game for Ryan Day.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're going to stay in Ohio State, you have to come up. You have to make the right decisions. You have to win this game.
Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of people that have watched these Tennessee and this Ohio State team, especially, earlier on in the year, where they were putting up some high-flying offense and everything, everybody's going to expect the last game of the first round, prime time, 8:00 in Ohio, that you're going to get some fireworks here. But these two teams are very similar, strikingly similar.
Yep.
So very, very good defensive teams. I think they're like number 1 and number 3 in the nation in points allowed or yards allowed or something like that. Two very good defensive teams. It's going to be a slow-paced game. And, wait, what was the last slow-paced defensive game we saw out of Ohio State? Oh, yeah, it was the game against Michigan that they just lost in Ohio last week. I think Tennessee plays them the same way that Michigan did. And I think whereas when Ohio State played Michigan, they could not get the ground game going, but they refused to move away from it because Ryan Day and Will Howard are so committed to playing conservatively and not trying to lose games. They aren't trying to win them. They're not trying to lose games. That could have worked for them against Michigan. It didn't, but they had a lot better of a chance of that sort of thing working for them in that game. If you try to play conservatively to not lose, but to beat Tennessee, it is not going to go the same way that it went for Michigan and keeping it within 3 points. I feel like Tennessee knows that. I feel like, once again, like I said, for SMU and Penn State, you have 11 days to prepare, a lot of film to go over, and a blueprint on how to beat this team. And yeah, I think they win this one outright. I think they play better. I think we see some very costly mistakes from Will Howard again. And ultimately I have the Vols winning this one. All right. So those are all the first round ones, but we'll go through the whole thing then. I've got the whole bracket to end off our episode here. So we went through the first round, the 12-5 matchup in Clemson, Texas, where we both have Clemson. That moves them then on to play Arizona State in the second round. I will be taking Arizona State, I don't feel good about it, but I think just with the extra time off, something about that coach, man, and how he is motivating this team. I think Cam Scatterbo, the running back, yeah, I think Scatterbo, the running back for Arizona State, is going to have a fucking game on Clemson, and I've got them proving that they deserved this bye and moving on to the semifinals. The next one would be, or what would you say on this one?
I personally are going to go the opposite way in my bracket. If Clemson does beat Texas, sure, they, don't have that time off, but again, it's going to be a neutral site as well, which kind of probably sucks for these teams. But I'll go, and I think because being in a traditional bowl site, Clemson will just have more of that and Cade as well, that we've done it before, we've been here before.
That comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be able to continue on. I don't see them then going past in the next after that, but I'm going to personally say Clemson will beat Arizona State.
Okay. I'll sit here and say Arizona State, but once I do, I don't know. Once I get down and start picking that bracket, we'll see. Something might change. But next one, 9-8, the Tennessee-Ohio State game moves on to then play number 1 Oregon. Let me just say, Oregon, for being the only undefeated team in the nation and the number 1, they got a shit draw. They have quite possibly one of the hardest tracks to get to the college football playoff national championship. I really feel like, yes, I know this is our first year in the 12-team playoff, and there's going to be stuff that needs to change and will change, but Oregon definitely got fucking reamed here, and they're going to be a little pissed off about it, which is why I have them moving on over the Vols in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, whoever it is, I have Ohio State, but yeah, I'll see Oregon will continue to move on.
11-6 SMU Penn State. We both have SMU winning this game. We'll move on to then have one of the most fun games of the college football playoff. I think we'll see against Boise State then in the quarterfinals. Oh man. Give me Boise State in my Heisman and Ashton Jeanty. I'm gonna stick by him. I think they found out a way to win this game against SMU.
I do too. SMU, obviously, my feeling is that they're going to blow out Penn State, and yet it'll just be too much energy put forth in this game, and it'll just be a little letdown. I mean, you've done what you needed to do in winning your first round playoff game, and Boise State is just going to have too much.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen even the Oregon had the best chance or the best effort at containing Ashton Jeanty, and he still had an absolute game against them. So SMU going to try to plan as much as they can to slow down Jeanty, but I don't think anybody in the nation is, and I think because of that, Jeanty's going to lead them to a win here. It'll be a close game, though. It'll be a very fun game to watch. I'm excited for that one. And then last one, Indiana Notre Dame, the 10-7. Then moves on to play number 2 Georgia. You had Notre Dame. I'll probably end up having Notre Dame, but I think Indiana could do this, man. I don't know. Whoever it is, though, I'm still going to take Georgia. I think Notre Dame would have the best chance to beat them, and I think they possibly could. But I don't know. It's Georgia in these college football playoffs. While they have looked the most beatable that they have in the last 3 years that we've seen them in this college football playoff, I still don't see them getting knocked out in the quarterfinal
round. This is where we'll differ. I still think that obviously there's time that Carson Beck can get that arm back, that elbow and that arm. Obviously, he has a couple weeks, but the way that he couldn't even pick it up for that final play of the game, and their backup gunner did okay to energize, but he didn't throw it that well. And if we're going to have to rely on a ground game, Notre Dame's defensive line they have some studs. I'm going to say Notre Dame will win this one.
I could see it. All right, so that moves us on then to the semifinals. This would be, for me, as of right now, Arizona State versus Oregon. We're going with the Ducks in a what was once a Pac-12 matchup. Now is just a semifinal between two different conference teams, but still give me the Ducks, best team in the nation for a reason. And I think because of that, you're starting to see where I'm going to go here on this college football playoff bracket.
I have obviously then Oregon against Clemson, and Oregon's speed is, even though Clemson has some good DBs, and Barrett Carter, love that kid, but you're just going to see the amount of games now play into a factor as well that Clemson will have to play versus Oregon, and Oregon will win this game, get to the finals.
Yep. Our second semifinal would be then, for me, Boise State versus Georgia. For you, Boise State versus Notre Dame. And this is the one that I think is going to surprise some people. You could tell just by me talking about that last game, I'm looking for an out on Georgia. I'm looking for a way to get them out of here. And what better way than the guy that's going to get robbed of the Heisman? Give me Boise State to beat Georgia in the semifinal and match up with Oregon in the national championship.
Be it Notre Dame, be it Georgia, I agree too. Boise State will find a way to get into the finals.
And then in our national championship, in a game we saw in week 3 that everybody's been circling, this is the reason why Boise State and Ashton Genty aren't going to get the Heisman. You know, they only played one good team in Oregon. And yes, they only lost to them by about 3 points, I think, back in week 3. If you would have told anybody back in week 3 that game that you were watching was going to end up being the national championship, everybody would call you crazy. But now for it all, for the title, we'll have the Ducks, we'll have the Broncos again. But this is where Boise falls short, I think, and give me the Ducks to hoist the trophy and be this year's national champion.
Yeah, it was, as you said correctly, it was a 3-point loss, 37-34. Ashton Genty had a game. As crazy and exciting as it would be, and this has been a fantastic year, having your service academies start off very well as well. And it would be, alone having a Boise State, not a Power 5, get into that final and just prove why college football is fantastic. I agree. Oregon will close it out. It'll be, again, very close. Might be an overtime game, but Oregon will win.
Yeah, it'll be a great game too. Very exciting. I'm getting this pool set up for us right now, actually, so that we can do these. But that's it. That's our college football playoff bracket look ahead here. Our predictions. Very excited for some of the football that we're going to be able to see in just over a week. I think it's going to make for a very fun first 12-team college football playoff. And while there are going to be some changes that need to be made for next year, it'll be a good debut year for this, and I'm very excited for this next, a new era, shall we say, of college football playoff. Yeah.
Now, is it? I thought though, although they could probably make some tweaks, I thought this was it for 2 years until 2026. I could be wrong.
I think I think you're right. I think then we go to 14 or 16 or something like that. But even if there is something that changes before then, it'll be very evident after this first year. So, that's all from it then. Dad, you got anything else before I get us out of here?
I mean, I absolutely loved watching, Division 2 and Division 3 this playoff, and sure, it's just going to create just magic in the premier bowl games or division in college football, and just make your transfer portal even more impactful for those teams to, hey, especially these teams. Do they continue to have this run going into next year as well?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. It'll be very fun to watch. I thought I unmuted there, but I didn't. Very fun to watch, and I'm very excited. And God, it's bowl season, man. Very happy for that.
Hey, finishing off. Speaking of bowl season, I saw your little tweet. You excited? ECU?
Very excited. Get to play state. This is one of the first times that we've matched up in a bowl before. I think it was the Peach Bowl in 92, I believe. 92 or 94, somewhere around there. But we don't get to see this a lot in college football games in which teams are going to play back to back. We play them in the bowl, and then we play them to open the season next year too. So very interesting. Try to get 2 up on them on a big in-state rivalry. Very excited. I'm still trying to debate if I'm going to attend the game in Annapolis on the 28th. I'll decide a little closer, but yeah. Oh, that's going to be a big bowl. That's going to be an exciting one. Even if I'm not at the game, it's going to be a loud day in Greenville there on that Saturday. I'll tell you.
Yeah. I got them. I'll pick them to win.
Yeah, I will too. We can get into that next week then, because that's when bowl season will actually start to begin. I don't think we're going to go through every single bowl, but we'll go through some of the bigger ones that count. But all right. Well, that is all that we have for you guys. We appreciate you listening to episode 49 of A New Era Podcast. As always, if you would like to keep up with us on social media, make sure to go follow us over there on Instagram and Twitter at A New Era Podcast, on Facebook, A New Era Podcast. And if you would like to email us any questions, concerns, or funny business, A New Era Podcast at gmail.com. We appreciate you guys listening as always. And we will catch you guys next week for the Big 5-0, episode 50 of A New Era Podcast.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dan.